Right. So, hey, everybody, this is Joe, aka Cinco Doggos, with the Bitcoin Mining Show, episode 15. We are recording at block height 961478. This is Friday, August 7th. You guys are probably going to see this in the future, in about a week after we're recording this. But I have the pleasure of sitting down today with one of the guys from SustainHash. I'm sitting down with Paul from SustainHash, and we're going to be talking about the cool things that SustainHash does, their journey in Bitcoin, and the real-life proof of work that they do. That's kind of the theme with the Bitcoin Mining Show for this season one, is everyone we've had on is doing something. They're in a business or they do something personally that actually actively contributes to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. That's why we call it real life proof of work. It's just not a bunch of suits doing something. These are people who are actively trying to make Bitcoin better and grow Bitcoin. So, Mr. Palmer, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time, sir.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. So, if you don't mind, before we get into what SustainHash is, do you mind just giving a quick little elevator pitch, a little introduction, who you are, how you got into this, so that our folks know who's talking to them today?
Yeah, so I'm Paul Palmer. I have been with SustainHash for about 3 years. I've got a little over 30 years in business development. I've spent a lot of that in the payments industry, credit card, electronic checks. Did a stint as a financial advisor. And so then I got introduced to the SustainHash team through a mutual contact. It was just a really natural, good fit. So I came on as Chief Revenue Officer and have been in that role for the last almost 3 years.
That's awesome. So before getting involved with SustainHash, were you a Bitcoin guy, a crypto guy, or was that kind of your first exposure to it?
I was not a Bitcoin or a crypto guy. I wish I was, because I was introduced to it back in like 2010.
I know that
And someone
feeling.
was saying, "Oh, Bitcoin, you ought to look at it." And I looked at it and I was like, I don't know what those guys are doing.
Did the same
It's,
thing.
and I was in the financial sector, I'm like a stockbroker. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound legitimate.
Mhm.
Let me go sell you some IBM or something. Sell you a blue chip.
Yep.
I kick myself now because I probably could have hooked up a cheap computer and
Mhm.
mine stuff at reward blocks of 50
Yep.
50 Bitcoin a block back then.
I feel you. I feel you. No, same. I had the same journey. I had a friend, military buddy, who was like, "Hey, man, we were both electronic techs in the Navy," and he was like, "You gotta check this out. It's cool." I bought a little USB stick miner. I stuck it in my computer, and after like 2 days, I was like, "This is stupid," and I unplugged it and threw it in the garage. And then I didn't look at it again for 10 years. So I completely feel you on that. Like, my wife hates when I tell that story. I got to look over, because if she hears it, she's always like, "Shut up," because it makes her mad. She's like, we would have been so in such a great position if you hadn't have done that." But I was like, hindsight's 2020, right?
Yep.
So, no, that's all right though. Here we are now. We're doing it. We are still early in Bitcoin, as people like to say. So, that's great. So, Mr. Palmer, so tell us a little bit about SustainHash, kind of the plain English pitch. What is SustainHash? What do you guys do? And from there, we'll kind of get a little deeper into the different aspects of the business.
Yeah. Okay. So SustainHash primarily is operator of Bitcoin mines. So we take care of all the day-to-day operations. We have employees on sites. Currently, we have 14 sites. We're running about 110 megawatts
Wow.
across North America and Alberta, Canada. So we take care of everything on the site, all the way from running the miners to taking out the trash and cleaning up. Like, every single thing that happens at the sites is what we handle. And we also have a repair center in Alberta. That's really how we got started, was in the repair center was our first foray into the business. Our two founders were hobby miners from like 2013 on.
Nice.
And self-proclaimed, like crypto electronics nerds, and just love the industry. So they jumped into it in 22. Repair was the first part of the business. Shortly after that, we got our first site management agreement and customer, and have been growing from there.
That's awesome. So That's quite a journey. And going from repairs, and that's kind of a theme that I see, right? Where you get somebody who's kind of a tech nerd. They say, I'm going to try this mining thing out. Then the next thing somebody comes to them at some point and says, like, you're really good with these devices. You're a tinkerer. Can you fix them? Yeah, I can fix them. And that's when you kind of clicks and you're like, I could probably make some money with this, fixing things for other people. And then I've noticed that trend where it kind of starts to snowball from there, right? And it's like, well, we can do a lot more than this. So that is a cool journey that SustainHash has. And you're a small crew, right? You're not like, you don't got like 500 employees or anything like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were definitely a small crew. We were like less than 10 people when I started. I think we had like 5 megawatts under management. And how you're saying is how it was, like, oh, we got some repair business. Yeah, we can make a business out of this. And then it was like a customer's like, hey, well, can you manage a site? It's like, yeah, we know what to do. And we go and we get the experience. And once you get a reputation, especially in this industry, for being honest, for doing what you say you're going to do, and if you make a mistake, you throw up your hand and go, "Yep, foul. That's on me," and then you fix it, offer a solution, take care of it. So when we got the opportunity to be asked to do site operations, and then that part of the business grew, and then we started doing equipment procurement because they were like, "Go find us the best equipment and the best price." So we started developing those relationships. We even have our own warranty product because customers came to us and said, "Hey, man, the factory warranty is just not working for
Mm-hmm.
us. We don't like it.
Right.
I send my equipment off, it takes forever," and all these lists of reasons. Like, okay, we'll come out with our own. So the mainstay of our business is site operations,
Sure.
but we also do equipment procurement. We have a warranty we attach to that. We do remote monitoring. We're actually developing our own software for ASIC management. Like there's a
Great.
lot that we're doing that is just how you said it was. You just kind of continue going down that path. You find things you're good at and jump on to the next thing.
Yeah, and that holistic business model for Bitcoin is definitely, to me, it's a great model. I love it. As I was a small business owner for many years, and when you can take something from one aspect, like using the old term, like from soup to nuts, right? From the beginning of a project all the way through, that you can carry a client, a customer, you can carry that relationship all the way through because of that trust, like you were just talking about. That is really what you guys are selling, is trust. Everything else is just a component of trust. We're seeing that right now with the whole cold card thing, right? It all comes down to trust. If you have trust in a company, in that, handshake that you made with someone at a company to do something like procure to procure units, to put that warranty in there, make sure they're being taken care of, to manage a site, whether it's for your equipment or for your customer's equipment or whatever, and you trust them to do that for you, that is a huge leap of faith. And to base that on someone's reputation, that is essential in Bitcoin. That is definitely in Bitcoin mining. That is essential. So the fact that you guys have built that reputation, that people are willing to go, okay, I'm ready. Let's pull the trigger. Let's do it. That's really impressive. So kudos to you guys for that.
Thank you.
Speaking a little bit on the repair side, we're going to get into the hosting side because that's gonna be probably what we talk about the most today. But you guys do have your repair side, and what do you guys see right now as generally the most common failures in ASIC rigs that you're seeing coming in?
It's usually chip failures, control boards.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff, a lot of the repairs, like if we're managing a site and a fan breaks, we can pop one off, put another one on site, not a big deal. And if it's a PSU, you can replace those. You could do a swap out. So what we're seeing most in our shop is board failures, where we're replacing chips.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and that's a thing, right? Like especially with you said fans, air cooled units. I just had a thing where I gave a talk recently, and I told people, like, I anticipate on any of my big boy units, like the S19s and up, if it's an air cooled unit, I kind of anticipate 6 months to a year, I'm going to have to replace fans on it. That's just kind of what I figure. It's a moving part. It has things that are going to fail, and it's okay if it fails because it's an easy swap out. PSU, same thing. I mean, you basically just swapping it out. As a Navy guy, I was on submarines, and they trained us. I was on in the late 90s, early 2000s. They didn't want us repairing equipment. It was open up, find out what's wrong with it, check the sheet, open up the case in the outboard, pull out the new board, and just take the old board that's not working, chuck it, and put the new one in. Like, don't even bother troubleshooting. Can't really do that with ASIC miners. That would be way too expensive to constantly do that. So having an in-house repair service is definitely a great way to save money. And the fact that you guys can kind of own that process is definitely awesome. You don't have to, if you're a customer of SustainHash, you don't got to wait till, it goes out to the manufacturer and they're going to ship it overseas, or if they have a location here in the States. But I hear these horror stories from fellow miners of the downtime that happens from sending it in for warranty work, and it just takes forever. To me, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yep.
Just wouldn't want to do that. What do you guys have, like is your main repair center that's up in Alberta?
Yes, we do some on-site repairs as well, but it's not an actual repair center. We do what we can there. We're looking at some of our larger sites of actually putting, a bench in there and some equipment to do repairs. And then we're also looking at, opening up a repair center here in the U.S. Yeah, it's a good part of our business. It helps us complete the loop of taking care of the customer. As you said, from soup to nuts, that I haven't heard that one in a while. That's kind of an older, you were talking about Gen X earlier. It's like, yep, that's me. But yeah, it's kind of lets us take care of the entire cycle, so that if we take this unit and it breaks and we send it to our shop, we're the ones that are taking care of it. We're handling it. We know when it's going to be back online. And that's ultimately a benefit for the customer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They know everything that's going on. You've got one point of contact. They're not calling 3 different companies. That would be a pain in the butt for me if I had to do that. Like, if I know I can call one person, or my account exec, or one team, get an email from them, and I know, okay, I kind of know what's going on here, so I'm good to go. As long as I'm kept in the loop, I'm happy. And that's one of the horror stories, again, I hear about going to the warranty centers. I'm not trying to just crap on the warranty centers, but it's a theme, right? It wouldn't be talked about if it wasn't a theme of, they don't know where your unit is. It's somewhere in the pipeline. When are you getting it back? Don't know. You're in line. And then, that again, it's not making money. It's just downtime. So that control of keeping it in that one pipe is definitely something that I think any mid-range mining operation that is looking for having some type of partner like that, that's essential to ask, is, what's that pipeline look like?
Yeah.
What does uptime really mean in a mining operation, and how should miners evaluate uptime claims from hosting providers? So just to kind of rephrase that, I'm a guy, I'm ready to make that jump from home or small time miner, and I'm ready to start jumping up into those megawatt ranges, right? And I need a partner for that. I'm in suburban Houston, Texas. I can't put it in my backyard. That ain't happening. So I'm ready to partner with somebody. What would you, if you were in someone's shoes like that, when they're coming to talk to a partner about trying to get this figured out, what are some things that you would be talking about with them concerning, like, the uptime for what they'd be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going from, like hobby mining into industrial mining, it's basically, you got to look at your people that you're getting involved, processes and systems, and those will result in good uptimes. And the way that I would define uptime is when that piece of equipment is running, or uptime would be the amount of equipment that you've got installed that's up and running at its highest capacity. And that can vary based off of, different factors, like heat, for instance. If it gets too hot and you're running on gas, which, we've got sites that are running on gas, also on grid. So, in the summers, in the middle of the day, we've got people lowering the generator so it doesn't overheat, lowering the output of generators. And but yeah, so uptime is going to be the amount of time that as a percentage that you've got those pieces of equipment mining being profitable, doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. And I think there's a misconception out there that companies can and should have 100% uptime. And to me, that's just not realistic. Again, I'm down here in Houston, Texas. We're on ERCOT. So, and if people watch the show, they know that I am very clear about my opinions about ERCOT. I've been dealing with them for years in various businesses, not just Bitcoin. And that, every state has their own version of ERCOT or whatever down here in the US, some type of utility control. There's things like curtailment and whatever. So you kind of got to factor that into your thought process when you're thinking about uptime. And to me, realistic uptime at a facility would be anything between anything above 90%. Am I realistic with that? I know it's not going to be 100, but should I be able to expect 90% uptime?
Yes, I would say you should be able to expect that. And by the way, I'm here in Pearland, Texas, which is just south,
right down the street.
We're outside the outer loop, just down the street.
I'm in Tomball, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it really depends on the need of the network. So if you're on grid and you've got a power purchase agreement, and then all of a sudden the grid comes to you and says, hey, we had a big storm, we need that power from you, and you sell it back to the grid, you're making more money selling power than you were mining Bitcoin in most cases. So you would want that that downtime,
right,
where it's not going to show as uptime. So let's say that takes up 5%. Well, that 5% that is not uptime, and you would consider it downtime, is making you more money than if you were in uptime.
Right.
So also the numbers, you have to kind of look at it and go, well, do I want to have uptime or not?
Right.
Like if you could buy power, just strictly buy the power, like power arbitrage, and curtail it 100% of the time, that's the easiest money in the world. That's not an option. Right. So it depends on the network you're in. Now we've got some here on ERCOT. We've got several different sites here in Texas, and adding some new ones. And then we've got some sites in Iowa and Kansas as well. And those sites, we see curtailments a lot more often in shorter increments. So it's going to depend on the power company that you're dealing with and how often they're going to ask you to curtail as part of that uptime. And the other part of uptime is the equipment that you're cycling through there. And so if you've got a huge failure rate of equipment and you're sending that to a repair center, it's no longer in your uptime numbers because it's getting repaired. And then how fast is that repair center repairing things? To our conversation earlier about why, let us do the repairs. And so that's taking out uptime. But if you're going to start mining and uptime is a huge consideration, that's when people buy extra pieces of equipment. So leave an extra 2%, 3% of equipment sitting on the side. So when you pull one that's going to go to repairs, you put another one in. Well, now your uptime is the exact same it was, and you've got a piece of equipment going to the repair.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, the math's got to work on that, and you have to be able to afford to buy those extra pieces of equipment. But all of that really goes into uptime. So for someone just to hop on like a podcast, go, hey, our uptime is 95%. It's like, but that's subjective because of all of these different factors. And so those are the kind of things you really need to be asking your service providers and your service operators like us is like, okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty and your uptime numbers and how do you achieve those and why do you achieve those? And then we can start saying, because of this curtailment agreement, because of our repair rates, because we have an extra supply of equipment that we're replacing broken miners, it's all of those things combined.
Right. And that's great. And that's one of those things you want to have if you're stepping into this for your first time and you're kind of putting on the big boy pants and you're ready to do something like this. You got to kind of hopefully walk into the conversation with the company that you're talking with, that you're planning on trusting. Based on their reputation, you want to make sure you're walking in with realistic expectations, right? Like you just talked about, if there's power sell back, okay, well, that's not uptime, but it's mitigation. You're still making money, if not more. So that really, at that point, that's either a wash or it's a good thing. So you account for that. And that's really, to me, one of the things that is a key factor when you're talking to whomever you want to do business with to help you make money, that you're going to partner with to make Bitcoin and make money and be successful in this, is, are you having those realistic expectations? Like you said, having the extra equipment on the side. You can't just walk in somewhere and say, okay, I've got 100 machines. I want 100 machines running all the time. That's just not realistic. I've got a rack of S19s sitting behind me that have not worked for 6 months. I'm not going to run them. It's S19s right now. It's not worth it. But the point is, when they go down, they go down. If I don't have something to put it back up, that's on me, because I didn't think ahead for that.
Yep. And you're so right about setting expectations. And that's a big part of what we do when we are talking to a new potential client. And they're like, they've got stars in their eyes, like, oh, I'm going to make all this money on Bitcoin. Here's 1,000 pieces of equipment, and they're all going to be running tomorrow, right? And it's like, setting expectations and planning ahead and letting people know of the pitfalls, not as a deterrent, but coming from experience, and to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, hey, a lot of people lose money mining Bitcoin. And there's reasons that they lose money, and it's because they don't have the right people or processes or systems in place to manage all of the issues that are invariably going to come up. You're going to have different issues whether you're on grid or if you're on gas and generators. We know how to do both of those really well. So when we talk to a customer, we're like, you got to look out for, for all of these things over here and all of these things over here. And here's what we do to, prevent those pitfalls. I think that's another part of why we end up getting business, is because when people start talking to our team, they can hear and understand the depth of knowledge that we have, the experience, where we can point and go, and we have an experience level that says, we can go to our 40 megawatt site over here in Texas and talk about that, and how in Texas you've got heat, humidity, dust, just dust, and high winds and lightning storms,
everything and all the other else in Texas.
And then we've got half megawatt sites up in Alberta, where it's like a frozen tundra, or that episode of Star Wars where there was the ice planet. I love my Canadian coworkers and friends, but it's like, you guys live in a frozen tundra, and then you're mining Bitcoin there. And so for them, it's not dust. It's like, if there's a hole or space between the door, and it's not sealed, they just get snow that just piles in there, and then you got a big pile of snow, and it's just different problems. So it's that kind of experience level that we're doing, mines of varying sizes and varying from, the frozen tundra of Canada down here to the sauna that is Texas.
Right. And that's kind of one of the things that, you're providing for your customers, is that experience level. I was in insurance for many years. I did commercial insurance for many years. So I'm one of those people that kind of, whenever I look at anything, so nobody ever wants to drive in a car with me, Paul, because every time someone's changing a lane, I'm like, no blinker, he's not leaving a big enough gap. I'm that guy, right? I'm always looking at the risk management of everything. It's just, it has been ingrained into me for years. But I do the same thing with business as well, where I'm like, I'm always trying to see, like, I want it to be great. I really do. Over here, I want it to be great. But at the same time, I'm like, but what can go wrong? Because if I can account for at least most of that, then we should be okay. And that's kind of one of the products that SustainHash is selling with your service, is you guys have that experience. You've been through it, and you can say, okay, we can kind of try to anticipate as much as any human can what's going to go on. And we are probably more prepared for it than you are, than that person is, right? Than I am. So that's a big deal when it comes to trying to figure out who somebody should partner with. What are some red flags to you if you were to sit down with a family friend and they were looking to get into the business, and they were looking to hire a company like SustainHash, and they were shopping around? What are some things you would say to them, like, okay, these are the questions you need to ask. These are like your top 3 things you need to be figuring out before you make a decision?
I would say the experience level of the people, where they're running, what type of equipment they're running. There's a vast difference in these modular data centers in something that you can get really inexpensive out of China versus something that's, manufactured to a higher standard. When it comes to airflow and gaps and there's a lot that go into these that make them efficient. And so if someone starts talking about how to make it as inexpensive as possible, that would be a red flag. If a group starts talking about how easy it is, it's like, hey, we got these modular data centers. It looks like a shipping container. We're going to plop it on the ground. We're going to plug in some power. I'm going to throw some computers in there, and whoosh, you're going to be making money.
Let's say we're making money, right? Yeah.
It's going to be raining. I would be like, whoa, no. Like, because when they talk to us, we're like, this can go wrong. This can go wrong. That could go wrong. This could go wrong. There's this laundry list of things. Like, if you don't, like, if you're going to go build a site, you need to know which way the wind naturally blows on that piece of land. And, because there's a natural, airflow on any piece of land where the majority of that current is going to be. And if you don't put the cold side of the container there to take advantage of that, you're going to be working against nature. And it's like, I don't think we figured that out. We didn't, we probably learned that from someone else. But being in the industry as long as we have and building sites and, just knowing those type of things where it's like, what direction do we want to face the containers? And if you work with a group and they're just like, oh, we're just going to plop them down. And I mean, we've taken over some sites that have been, there's no names here. So absolute horrible trash,
garbage sites. Yeah.
Just like, who actually thought this was going to work? And just, electrical equipment failing, like really cheap Chinese components that aren't made to a high standard that just fail and fail and fail and not being able to get replacements. And then they're griping about downtime. And it's like, well, you're the one that bought this site.
You got your Timu, you got your Timu container. You're going to get Timu power. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. You got Timu power.
Yep.
Yeah. So, really the experience level is probably one of the biggest to be able to talk about these kind of things that are going to happen, and if you don't know about them, then your service provider is going to be learning right along with you as you're learning, like, oh my goodness, you got to take the wind direction into consideration, or there's these other issues, or you can't have gaps, or airflow is hugely important, or you got to change the filters on a regular basis. And all of those things that we learn through experience. And so having someone explain to you their experience level, I think is probably one of the biggest things you could get as a sign that says, okay, these guys know what they're talking about.
That's my takeaway from this. I just learned something. I mean, it makes sense that you said it about, like, prevailing winds direction and all that. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I never thought that basically the feng shui of Bitcoin mining is a big thing. But I mean, coming from somebody who's been in the building industry, the home building and insurance, and I never thought of that. But absolutely, you don't want to fight against the elements. You want to work with them. And I would have never thought of that. You brought it up. Oh my God, I learned something today. So thank you. But that's brilliant.
I like the term like Bitcoin mining feng shui. Yeah. That's cool.
That's what it is. We're going to place it a certain way. So that's perfect. I mean, that works. I love it. And again, depending on where you're putting this, whether you're in Kansas or Iowa or Alberta or Texas or wherever at, it's all going to be different. It's not the same thing. This is not a cookie cutter. We're not talking like, like the Levittown houses back, after World War II, where they can cookie cutter stamp these suckers out. We do see that in this industry. You can go online and like you said, from overseas places, you can buy something that's set up and ready for you. And then you get it there and you're like, well, this doesn't really work for my situation. And I think that's probably a pitfall many people have fallen into. And then that's where they say, this is crap. This is, it's a scam. It's Bitcoin's not a good industry. That's why you need a good partner. So asking those good questions. All right, guys, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Altair Tech. If you've been thinking about getting into Bitcoin mining or scaling up your current operation, Altair Tech is who we use at Cinco Doggos Mining for our hardware. They're veteran Bitcoin miners, so they actually understand the equipment they sell. They ship fast from the central U.S., keep a large inventory of in-stock ASIC parts, miners, PDUs, and accessories are ready to go. Whether you're starting small with something like an Avalon Nano 3S or scaling into the 200 plus professional mining rig range, Altair Tech has the gear to help you grow. And if you're new to mining, they offer free consultations to help you choose the right hardware and strategy. So head on over to altairtech.io and use discount code CINCO at checkout. That's altairtech.io, code CINCO. Altair Tech, mine your independence and start stacking sats the sovereign way. Anything that you have seen that like has been a huge mind blower for you when it comes to things like that? Like something when you got into this that you're like, I never even thought of that until I got into this, but it's like a very impactful element of setting up these sites.
Yeah, I mean, the wind direction was a big one for me because I didn't even think about that when I was told. I was like, well, that because I did a stint in real estate as well. And that you look at where's the sun rising, the sun setting, and how's it going to come into the house and all of that.
Right.
Yeah, that one. And then I guess the other thing is I've learned a little bit more about the gas, about how natural gas is pulled out of the ground and all of the different stuff. That's a technical term. All the stuff that's in natural gas, and then you got to like convert it or make sure it has the right mix of stuff so it can burn in a generator. But that and all of the other creative ways that people are finding stranded energy. We've looked at groups that have solar and battery backups mixed with other energy providers, like being on grid. We've looked at a hydro, we've looked at a nuclear plant that was going to be, so finding all these different ways that people are helping the energy sector by finding stranded energy, utilizing it, putting some revenue towards that. The saying Bitcoin solves that.
Right.
We definitely do that. Our industry goes in and really helps all of these different stranded energy sectors where we can go in and pull out some energy and provide some capital that's going to help build that area. So that was another big one for me, is like all of the creative ways that you can mine Bitcoin in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Like you hook up a Starlink and you put something in the middle of a pasture that doesn't have anything for miles around it, and you're making money.
And that's great. And see, it's that innovative, I don't want to call it like cutting edge, but but definitely frontier thought process. Like one of the first shows we had was with Huddle Tarantula from Sovereign Hybrid Compute. I always stutter over that name. And he talked about when he was first getting started, like he's on a 4-wheeler in the Appalachians with some miners on the back and like a Starlink and a Jenny. And he's going out in the middle of nowhere to this old mining site that's been abandoned for decades, and basically like kind of like pirate mining on it, right? Like nobody's even using it anymore. It's just worthless. They contact the property owner and they're like, let's see what we can do with this. And they're like, whatever, man, it's just got burn off going. But now here we are, and it's an entire industry that's developing. They're taking this stuff that people see like maybe on the show Landman, where they're watching Billy Bob Thornton out there talking about oil, and they're seeing, guys putting masks on and running away from these dangerous areas because of, these dangerous gases that are coming out of the ground. And now Bitcoiners are saying, hold on a second, we have something that might be able to fix that can utilize that. It's not just waste anymore. Let's use it. Hopefully, you kind of touched on nuclear. I'm a big proponent of nuclear power. I was on nuclear powered submarines when I was in the Navy. Love nuclear power. Would love to see more of that happen in the U.S. and I mean all of North America, get that going for Bitcoin mining. So it's cool to hear that you guys are at least exploring it and you got your eye on different types of energy. What do you think is probably the biggest type of energy you guys right now is like mostly grid still? Are we still at that point in history?
Yeah, for our mix currently, it's grid, and that's determined by the customer. They'll come in and they'll buy sites. They're buying sites on grid, and that's the majority of what we've got now. We started with gas and gensets running. We still do those, and we've added some, and I think there's probably more people in the Bitcoin space that are looking to natural gas and generators because of the low cost of power, especially after the next halving in a couple of years. I think that people are going to start looking at this as a multiple investment. I want to invest in miners and mine Bitcoin, but I'm also going to invest in a generator, which is a 30 to 40-year asset. I mean,
Right.
these things last forever and they hold their value really well. And then I'm going to buy some land or lease some land, and get a gas well or gas contract. So I think more people are going to start leaning in that direction, or we've seen more people talking about going in that direction.
Mm-hmm. And companies like SustainHash, and for my home miners out there, the people who started off with some home small boy miners, and then you kind of got you felt that rush, you got that hit, and all of a sudden you're chasing the dragon now of Bitcoin mining, and it just keeps going up and up. You get your big boy miners, you start going to a hosting company and getting them there, and then you're at that point where you're like, okay, what's next? A lot of people stop right there, and that's okay. But for you folks that are like, Joe, Paul, why are you guys talking about this on the Bitcoin Mining Show? Because this is now actually achievable for people like us, okay? For my people, where we get to that point where we say, I really can make this something. I can go ahead and partner with somebody who can help me source equipment, if I have an idea about property, we can source that, source power, all that stuff that needs to happen. It's no longer, I need to go figure it all out myself. Because if that's the case, I'm just not going to do it, Paul. I wouldn't do it. I'm at that point. I'm in my late 40s. I don't got the energy or the time or the attention span for that. But to have a partner that I can work with that will reliably do that with me, that's different. Because now I've got an expert in my pocket.
Yep. And that's what we do for clients who want to start moving into the mining industry, but they don't know exactly how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that we don't do, like we don't sell generators and we don't maintain generators, we're actually looking at, getting into that part of the business. But right now, we've got trusted partners.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to buy them, we can help you find them, and we can help you get the maintenance contracts, all of that with partners. If you're buying greenfield land, we got EPC companies that we'll tap you into that'll come in and get it ready to put in modular data centers. If you don't know what data centers to buy, the modular ones, we'll help you acquire those because we have those relationships. I mean, we don't make them ourselves, but we know all the manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the type of equipment that you're going to get, we can help with that as well. Of course, with the equipment too, we have direct relationships with manufacturers and brokers, and so we can get better pricing than most of you guys can on your own because of those relationships and the fact that we're bringing large volume customers to them. And then all of the rest of it past that point, running the day-to-day operations, that's what we do. So we'll hire people and put them on site. They're there running things on a day-to-day basis. We also have a group of people around the world that are doing 24/7 remote monitoring. So we've got people in the US, Canada, Philippines, and North Macedonia that are watching these sites and making adjustments in real time, with software. So we got a guy in Macedonia that's over there looking at a miner in Canada and saying, the temperatures in Canada are pretty high today at 2 o'clock, and the generator is up to 98% capacity. I'm gonna have to bring it down to 96, and boo, he types on the keyboard. Next thing you know, we got a generator, lowering its output so it doesn't overheat. Same thing with miners, making adjustments. So all of that stuff we're doing, but all the stuff that we don't do, we can tap you into a partner that we vetted, that we trust. You don't have to choose them. You can choose whoever you want, but we'll put a good partner in front of you.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's great. And that's kind of what I think that's the point that a lot of people that might be sitting there looking at this will say, like, I don't know if this is right for me. It seems like it's overwhelming. I met a guy a couple weeks ago when I was in Mining Disrupted Miami, was sitting down waiting for the Uber to come before we were heading out of the airport last day, and sitting there just waiting, talking with some of the guys from the conference. And there was this gentleman sitting there. I didn't know who he was, so I'm a talkative guy. I introduced myself, and I was like, like, what brought you to the conference? And he was a very quiet gentleman, and he was just reminded me of like a good old boy. I love that. And he was just like, well, I do some stuff with Bitcoin mining, and I got, a lot of Bitcoiners are very private, and I appreciate that, so I wasn't going to push him too hard, but just kind of listening to him join in the conversation, found out how he started in it years ago, about 10 years ago. He had family land. And he wanted to do something with it. And he had a friend that was like, you can really develop this for Bitcoin mining. And he got him hooked up with a good partner who was able to help him do all the things that he did not know how to do. And he's not a stupid man. It's just not his bailiwick, right? Yeah. He's not a land developer. He's not a tech guy. He's not a power guy. So they hooked him up with somebody who could do that for him, a company that could do that. And they developed it. And now the guy owns like 4 or 5 sites around the country through this company that does this for him. And I honestly don't know who the company is. For all I know, Paul, he's one of your customers. Okay. I don't know, because I never asked, because it was his private business. I didn't want to get in it, but he's like, they source my customers for me. Who's going to be, putting the miners in the business next to mine. So I got that. They set him up with, now that there's kind of some of the compute and the AI pivots going on to try to make sure that his business stays stable. They've helped him pivot with that. And it was amazing because, in the past, you probably, 10, 15 years ago, if you wanted to do that and get in early on this, you'd have to hire 10 or 15 experts yourself and pay them individually. Now, I can go to you, a person like me can just go to SustainHash and say, let's partner. I have this. What can we do? Are you guys doing things with AI and HPC, things like that? Is that also in your bailiwick, or not at this time?
It's in our purview. Like we
Mm-hmm.
know we're going to go there, but we're not going there yet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any HPC or AI under contract, although we've had some conversations with different groups
Mm-hmm.
who are in the Bitcoin mining space and are also in that space, and saying, hey, do you guys do this too? We've grown so fast over the last couple of years that we've just been keeping up with that growth. But yeah, we do want to move into that space when it makes sense, and when there's kind of an easy on ramp into that space. I mean, instead of trying to break down the door right now, and the whole industry is, in my opinion, is just being flooded.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, there's data centers everywhere, and
Yep.
let's drop in another one, and so yeah, that would be us going outside of what we normally do. And it's very similar. It's running a data center, and it's a computer, and it's got networking, and it's going to have to be pulled off a shelf to be repaired. And so there's a lot of similarities, but there's enough differences that we haven't crossed that bridge just yet.
I think that actually speaks to your reputation for SustainHash, though. I mean, there's a lot of companies that will just jump right into it, right? Like, this is the new flavor, let's do it. I'm a big fan of letting other people make mistakes, and I will learn from their mistakes. And I want to get into something when I feel that it's safer to do so. Sometimes to my own detriment, maybe I miss things. I'm not a guy who gets FOMO, the fear of missing out. Yeah. If I miss the boat, I miss the boat. But I mean, the way I see it is, okay, well, I'll get into it when it's my time to get into it. I think it does speak to your reputation at SustainHash that you're saying, like, we're not there yet. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to do it right. And when the right time to do it is, then we'll do it. So you're not saying no, you're just saying not now. Okay, yeah. So SustainHash talked about managing over 100 to 110 megawatts of mining operations. How do you define megawatt under management? Like, is that owned sites, managed sites, monitored sites? What would that mean if I'm walking into the room on that? What does that mean to me?
Yeah, so that means sites that we're actively managing on location. So we have the management contract. We do every aspect of the management of those sites. Those are customer-owned sites. SustainHash, we do have some of our own miners, and we have our own site, but it's very small in comparison. The vast majority of that 110 megawatts is customer sites that they own, that they trust us to run for them. Mm-hmm. And we did sign another 20 megawatts recently in the last 2 weeks. So we're actually going to be at 130.
Wow.
And then we've got some other ones that we feel like are going to be coming on board as well. So it's been a really, when I started with SustainHash a little less than 3 years ago, we were at 5 megawatts sites under management. So we're now, about to hit 130, and it's been a pretty quick run, but I think that speaks to the talent that we have on the team. Because at the core of SustainHash, you've got the four main leaders of the organization, and we are very much on the same page. There's a lot of trust within the team for everyone to do their own role. All four of us are leaders in our own right, but we can also follow the other leader when it's their department. So there's a great working relationship. That adds a comfort level to the employees that we bring on, which we treat more like family than employees. People want to be taken care of. They don't really want to work for a living. They want to make a living and do something that they can be a part of a good team and feel like they're contributing something. And, so there's a difference in just having a person like, this is your job, or having someone that's like, welcome to the SustainHash family. This is how we do stuff, and so we take care of our people really well. The team that does the hiring are so good. So we make sure we hire really well, that we pay well, that we take care of people, because people have family stuff that comes up, and different issues, and it's always family first. And so when things like that happen, other employees take over, and this person gets to go take care of business. And it's that kind of an attitude, I think, about how we take care of our people that makes us successful in growing as fast as we have. So we probably added 30 people in the last year and a half, and we're just continuing to hire. But that's one of the things that we do really well. So now our confidence level of being able to take this management infrastructure and then hire people on a new site. So now instead of 14 sites, we got a 15th site, bringing people on there, supporting them with the same processes and procedures that we've done at other sites, with the same type of family atmosphere. I mean, you still have accountability.
Sure.
I mean, you got to do your job. That's part of it. But there's that kind of a family feel that we like to care about who we're working with, and get to know them as a person. And I think that's one of the things that's really helped us grow and be successful.
I love that. I love to hear it. Again, I'm a Navy guy. I was on submarines. On fast attack submarines, you generally have about 130 guys on one boat back when I was in.
I was in the Army. I was a paratrooper.
Oh, there you go.
And,
well, fantastic.
Yeah. So, I had a platoon, and it's like, we're in the field, and, you got the guy watching your back and you're watching his. So
exactly. You know when to lead, you know when to follow. It's all based on the mission. I love that. Like when you were saying that, it was pinging for me. Like, this is exactly what I like to hear. It's exactly what I like to hear. And you're building teams with passion. That. So I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, sorry. No, I think I jumped in. I said the military is good for that. Teaches you how to lead and teaches you how to follow.
Exactly right. Exactly right. You build off each other's strengths. You support each other's weaknesses. And like you said, if something pops up, family issue, because things happen, right? Life and things happen. And then somebody can just step up, and you have that confidence that your team's going to go, we got you, go take care of what you got to take care of. It'll be fine when you come back. We got you. And then I know you got me if something happens with my family. And that's great, because people in corporate America, corporate world, you don't get that. You do not get that. And, I'm sure we've all experienced that, or most of us experienced that firsthand, where they talk the talk about being a family until it's time to be a family. Right. Yep. And then it's, what have you done for me lately? So the fact that I think you guys you're kind of living that mission, your reputation. And for our viewers, just so you know, when we invite folks like Paul from SustainHash on here, we do vet this. We're not, SustainHash isn't paying us to bring them on here and do an advertorial. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to, pump them up because we're getting something out of it. We are finding companies and people that are actually doing real life proof of work. And what they do, it shows, and we feel it should be showcased. So when we put this up there, we're also putting our reputation, my reputation on the line, saying, I believe these guys are actually doing what they say they do. So please take that to heart. Like when Paul is saying this about what their company does, I believe him. And I'm sure if I was a customer and I was to say, Paul, I'm really interested in services. I can show you that I'm a serious contender to be a client of yours. You know, can I take a site tour? You know, is there something I can do that I can see how it works? Or do you have a client who I can speak with who can attest to what you guys do? I'm sure you're able to provide that.
Yes, absolutely. We do have site visits where we've got some of our clients that allow us to take people on and show them a site. Like most Bitcoiners are pretty secretive, but
don't blame them.
But yeah, they'll trust us to do a site visit and
virtual tours. You can always do the virtual tour. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's good stuff, man. And I love what I'm hearing about this. I love to hear what you guys are doing. Now we're getting toward the end of our conversation. It's Friday. I know you want to wrap up, finish your week so you can get on with your weekend. Before we end the conversation, is there anything that I forgot to ask, something you want to hit on, something that's maybe coming out for SustainHash in the future you want to talk about, or anything that you just think that I kind of missed during our conversation?
The best customer for us is maybe something I would highlight. So
yeah,
if
let's
someone's
talk about that.
This going, I don't know if these guys are right for me. We talk to a wide variety of customers or potential customers. Some people come to us and say, I have one piece of equipment I want to get repaired. We'll do that. We'll do a single piece of equipment for repair. If someone comes to us and says, I have one miner I want to have you host, we can't accommodate that. We don't have a site for that. But what we do is we refer you to one of our partners who can accommodate that. So we're always going to take care of you. But our normal customer would be someone who would be a larger or high net worth individual that's going to be investing, probably at least $500,000 to more. A lot of our customers will come in and deploy, 2 to 3 million, and then they'll come back and deploy another 5 million. And that's kind of the norm that we deal with on an individual basis. And then we also deal with groups. So there'll be a group of investors that come together and say, okay, I've rallied up 20 guys. We've all put our money in. Yep. We've got the financial piece worked out. Yeah, they're like this. They're like,
here's the bag.
Yes. Yeah. I think because everybody knows that the value of the dollar has been doing this since inception and will continue to do that. It's baked in. That's how the fiat currencies work. It is a debt instrument. So that debt instrument is going to keep going down. Bitcoin has been doing this and going up. And then you've got all the tax advantages that, Trump just signed that law so you can write off 100% of your equipment. Yep. It's installed and running. So we're getting a lot of people that are coming to us and they're like, take this worthless fiat or that's getting, less and less worth and put it into a digital gold. And we're all Bitcoin maxis on this end. So it's like, yeah, we'll take that and we'll turn it into something way more valuable. And instead of going to like a Coinbase and buying a Bitcoin, you're going to get it for, a lot less than that. Right. And you're going to get the tax write-offs. So the main customer we would want would be someone that is in that position. Like I have this fiat, I want the tax advantages, I want the Bitcoin, go make that happen. And then that's what we do. We go make it happen.
That's great. And if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, well, that's never going to be me. I thought that a few years ago too. I was like, that'll never be me. But I got to be honest with you guys. Like I'm getting to that point where I'm looking at that now. I'm looking down the road and saying, okay, we're a few years out from this and it's now a possibility. And that's just sticking with it, having a long view, having that time preference of, I know this is a good investment, and saying that I want to mine my Bitcoin, not just, DCA it. There's nothing wrong with DCAing if that's your thing, but I prefer to mine my Bitcoin. I like my virgin Bitcoin. I like it coming straight out of the machine and going into my accounts. And I do see that grow. And I got to tell you, if you're watching this and you're new to mining, it's addicting. I'm going to warn you. Okay. It may be for you. It may not be for you, but what you're looking at now, you may come back 3-5 years down the road after you watch this episode, when you watch it and you said, Paul, I'm not going to be doing anything with Paul. I don't got that kind of money. 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you might remember watching this episode and say, I got to go back and find that episode. What was the name of that company? Because I'm at that point. So please remember that just because you may not be there right now doesn't mean you're not going to be there. Everybody started at zero and moved forward, right? Not everybody who comes and does this is a venture capitalist or something like that. That gentleman that I sat and talked with in Miami in the hotel, he was not. That was not his thing. I mean, t-shirt, ZZ Top beard, and shorts and Crocs. Walking down the street, you would have never known this guy is probably a multimillionaire, and that's how he wants it, and I respect that. But what he did was he made moves, he stuck with it, and he kept building on it. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you say, I don't have the expertise to do this myself anymore. You're going to need a partner. That's where a company like SustainHash comes into play. Anything else you think that we glossed over, or anything else you want to touch on before I let you get back to your workday?
I think that was it. I just wanted to clarify that if someone says, "Oh, I heard him say 500,000, and I don't have that much," I'm not going to call him. I just want to reiterate: we talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a couple pieces of equipment you want to deploy, we have several options for you with partners, and we have a referral network of people that we trust. Now you can go do some due diligence on them as well. We would encourage you to do that, and you could find your own trust level, but we've already done that for you. So go ahead and call us. We're happy to help. We always want to keep making new contacts in the industry. At the very top, the Bitcoin industry is pretty small, like most industries. And I think the people they're good people. Like if you're truly behind Bitcoin, right, which I consider to be like freedom money, like you're ex-military, I'm ex-military. Would I stand up against a foreign or domestic enemy with a weapon and stand a post? Hell yeah. Yep. I've done it. So have you.
In a heartbeat.
Now, this is freedom money. This is the same thing. Will you stand up against financial tyranny? Damn right we will. So I don't care if you've got a miner or if you want to buy a bit axe, like I got 2 bit axes running in the office, like, lotto miners. We'll talk to you. We love bit axes. So I just didn't want to discourage, like, right, oh, we only talk to super wealthy people. No, we talk to everybody. And if you're down for Bitcoin, we're maxis. So
yeah, start the relationship. Exactly. Start the relationship. Yes. And, and that's the good thing is if you're serious, if someone is serious about it, like this is something where you say, I'm in it to win it and I'm going to stick with this. This is not just a side hobby. I'm really, I'm a maxi, I'm a mining maxi, and that's kind of your focus. And if you've listened to my show, kind of that's where my head's at. Every spare neuron I have firing is something involving Bitcoin mining. If that's how you are, start developing that relationship. Get with a company like SustainHash where you can start building that relationship and get down that road. It might be something of, where do I start? How do I get off zero? And then if you're building that direction, well, now you've already got a partner lined up for you when you're at that point. So absolutely, don't have to be a venture capitalist to give Paul's team a call and to get things started. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Paul, where can people find SustainHash if they want to find you guys online?
You can find us at sustainhash.com. And the same SustainHash on social media channels, LinkedIn and Instagram and all the main ones. Email for me is paul@sustainhash.com. So feel free to hit me up and we'd love to have a conversation.
It's awesome. And guys, if you go to their website, they've got a blog section. It's worth checking out. I actually just shared it's not the most recent. It's the one from the end of July. You guys did a blog about how to use Bitcoin mining as a treasury strategy for small businesses. I just sent that over to my wife today. She runs a small business and I was like, take a look at this. This is kind of like what we're doing right now at her business. But you guys, you've got good educational stuff on your website as well. Take a look at what they do, see if this is right for you, start following them on social media. That way you can see if this would be a good partner for what you're trying to do. Start learning to find out if it is what you want to do and if you're in that position, and then reach out to them and check it out. Paul, it was great talking with you today. Would love to have you guys back on in like 6 months, talk about how things are going if you're up for it. See how the summer ended up for you in ERCOT down there in Pearland compared to me up here in Tomball, and we'll check it out.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. We'd love to do it, Joe. Thank you so much for having us on, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.